Hello there my music lovers, I'm Joshua Audiophile Heaven, and today we are having a look at two special products. Those are the Dethonray DTR1 Plus DAP or music player and the Dethonray Tender One IEMs. I actually have them both unboxed already. Because the unboxing experience is not quite that interesting, the company Dethonray actually focuses more on offering the product itself and not necessarily a very fancy unboxing experience. There is one accessory I need to mention, and that is the Type-C to mini HDMI converter used for powering up and for charging the Dethonray DTR1 Plus DAP. Now this is the DAP. As you can see, it looks very cool, but the paint on the back of the DAP started chipping a bit because my photo artist decided to put it in some places where it tends to lose some of that, and it may not be quite visible, but it happened a bit. On the other hand, the front is perfect, no scratch marks on it, and the surface is quite scratch resistant. It boots up quite quickly, and this is pretty much the unit. We have a very solid metallic unit. I actually did the disassembly on it and tried to remove the back part. You just need to remove those two screws, slide it out, and you can replace the battery all by yourself. The DAP is very portable, very ergonomic. As you can see, it fits perfectly in my hand. I never had a DAP that fits so well. It just fits like that, and you use those buttons for navigation. This is a very basic DAP. It does not have any advanced function, no Bluetooth, no special bells and whistles, no Tidal, no nothing, just playing music off of a micro SD card. If you started wondering why then is it an interesting DAP and why I'm doing a review on it, well, that is because it does that very well. It plays music very well, and we'll get to that in a second. We have two outputs at the bottom, one line out and one headphone output. We have a reset pin hole where you can use a little needle to reset it if anything is to happen to the firmware, and we have the mini HDMI connector. I have no real idea why the company went for a mini HDMI connector, but it may be because the battery is quite special on the unit and it has 3 different batteries to power it. We also have 3 buttons on the right side of the unit, a volume plus, volume minus, and the power button. The volume minus button is larger, so it makes blind navigation very easy and very natural with it. We have a selection button, and for arrow keys, you can use the bottom key to change the song. And we have a micro SD port also on the right side. That is pretty much about it. The display is not very high resolution, it is not very bright, but it is very good because it can show cover art, and the navigation on the unit is extremely quick. The DTR1 Plus is one of the quickest DAPs when it comes to navigating it. You just poof, and it just changes the list. You don't have to wait for it to load things. It loads almost instantly. It has great support for both high resolution and DSD files. And all in all, I mostly used FLAC files and Redbook files with it. The headphone output has more than enough power for any headphone you may imagine. I was able to power both the Crozon CZ8A, HiFi Menonanda. I was able to power any EM I have around the house. Of course, the pairing with the Tender One EMs is going to be quite special. As you could see, the cable of the Tender One is not very tangle prone. I was able to untangle it almost instantly. And the DAP. This is where things started to go down in an interesting path I was not expecting. The DAP, the Dethonray DTR1 Plus, is one of the most analogic sounding DAPs on the market right now. It doesn't really have a very warm sound, it doesn't really have a smooth treble, and it doesn't really lack detail. It is simply magical. Everything is extremely well-rounded, very fluid, and at the same time it is extremely engaging. It just has a wow factor to it. The wow factor is so high, and I am enjoying it so much that I keep listening to it, even though I have much more expensive and technically better DAPs that can do much more, like Tidal, MQA, and more functions. But the sound of the DTR1 Plus is so good that I actually like to sacrifice on all of the other things just to listen to it. That is how good it sounds. It is just magical. Like this sound, the sound that DTR1 Plus is able to push is just incredible. The bass is extremely full. It goes as low as 20 Hz, but it's not necessarily the reach that impressed me. It is how nuanced yet how powerful it is. The bass never loses track of how impactful it can be. The mid-range has a smidgen of warmth, but it is not from the bass that is enhanced, it is just the mid-range having a sweet sound to it, and the mid-range has an extremely fluid presentation. There is no fatigue, no harshness, no digital glare, and looking back on other dubs that I've reviewed, for example the FIO M11 Pro, the M11 Pro sounds like it has terrible digital glare to its sound. It has an unnatural brightness, where the DTR1 Plus doesn't lack in brightness, it doesn't lack in treble. It just has this magical open sound, this really wide soundstage, but everything is presented naturally, everything is just so impressive with it. The treble is also very sparkly, very engaging. The signature reminds me a lot of the unique melody Mest Mark II. It is just tuned like that. It just sounds extremely dynamic, extremely punchy. And one of the biggest surprises, at least to me, was that I can push the volume up to the maximum level, which is 70 if I recall correctly, and at the absolute maximum, if you are blowing your eardrums out with blasting any type of music you want, it has absolutely zero distortion, and that is surprising because comparing it to FIO M11 Pro, for example, side-by-side comparison, FIO M11 Pro distorts at its maximum volume with half of the EMs and headphones I tested. The other half remains clear, but the DTR1 Plus distorts with none. There is no distortion on the DTR1 Plus. It is just clear, it just stays like that. It doesn't want to distort, it doesn't want to add anything or to subtract anything from music. The music experience is so pure and impressive that I decided it just needs a video, it just needs to be met with more people. If you are looking for any DAW that has a more complex configuration, it is not going to be it for you. It is not going to be able to do anything besides playing music, like anything. It is not for that. If you need a DAW that can do pretty much everything else, like streaming, apps, just anything besides music, Bluetooth, aptX, it can't do any of that. It's just not how it was created. It was purposed in such a way that it can play music perfectly, that the music experience is awesome and excellent. It was not purposed to be a replacement for players like the iBasso DX240 or iBasso DX300 or Lotopo 6000, because I was just doing the comparisons and writing the full written review on it, but it is amazing. This one is amazing. I actually did a ton of comparison between it and the QLS QA361 because both are very minimalistic DAWs. And the QLS option is good, but at the same time it has considerably more distortion at extremely loud volumes, where the DTR1 Plus has zero distortion. The QLS QA361 also tends to have a softer sound with less impact, less dynamics and less engagement. This one is just purely analogic. Now that we dedicated most of the video to it, I should dedicate some of the video to the Tender One IEMs, and because we lack the budget to do more videos, I decided to make them both at the same time. Those are the Tender One IEMs. They are planar magnetic in technology. If I didn't mention this, the DTR1 Plus costs about $1,000 while those cost about $650. The Tender One was designed in such a way, and the DAP was designed in such a way that they work perfectly together. This is a very natural sounding EM. They have a very good ergonomic, very natural in my ears. They don't have any driver flex. They are pretty much perfect for me in every single way. They are not too heavy. They sit perfect. This is greatly constructed. It has an MMCX connector. As you can see, I can turn it inside the socket. Don't try to turn them to determine whether it is MMCX or 2-pin. You are going to lose some money if you do that. But the sound, once again, the company proves that you can have very simple packaging, very natural design, no balanced cables, nothing that is too fancy, but they can provide such a wonderful sound. I'll be doing a full written review on this one. Man, I love the sound of the Tender One so much. It's just like the DAP, but this one doesn't have an analogic sound to it. They have a very engaging, very uplifting sound to them. They have a very strong sub bass, very strong treble, and a slightly recessed mid-range. So the sound could be said to be slightly V-shaped or U-shaped, depending on how much you appreciate V versus U. But the sound is so detailed. It is incredibly detailed. It can reach detail levels very close to Campfire Ara, which is $1,300. The sound of the Tender One is wide, very holographic and very natural in the mid-range. There is a certain peak in the upper mid-range, lower treble and treble. There is a very specific peak that tends to add a bit of energy to every single cymbal impact, like poof, when you hit the cymbal, you can hear that it has a bit more energy. It has a certain coloration to it, but it is very minor. But the detail level is so good and it is so dynamic and so engaging that I keep listening to them. I keep returning to them. They also offer excellent passive noise isolation, between 25 and 30 decibels of passive noise isolation. In my experience, I cannot hear myself typing, which helps a lot because usually I just distract myself from listening while typing reviews and I need to stop typing, which delays some reviews. You should keep in mind that this is not a paid job, so if you could spare a dime to donate to Audiophile Heaven to help us get better equipment, have more time to dedicate on the videos, produce more and better videos, I would appreciate that greatly. Also, any subscribe and like on the video is greatly appreciated because it keeps me motivated, it keeps me doing those videos, it keeps me wanting to create more content for you. The Dethonray is excellent as an EM. I will be doing a full written review. Don't forget, always check the full written reviews. Also, those are very boutique products. They are not produced en masse. They are produced in a few pairs of this EM, a few pieces of this DAP. They are not produced to be commercial. They are produced to be special. They are produced just for those who really want to sacrifice everything for the sound. And this sound, this is the type of sound that I can fully stand behind. Fully analogic, fully sweet, fully full. And I hope you'll continue having the loveliest weeks in there. And I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye.